Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to be talking about how you could add stretching services to your physical therapy practice. And we're speaking here with Kevin Flaherty, who is a physical therapist and the president of Flaherty Physical Therapy, a successful two-location practice in Massachusetts. And in May of this year, he also opened Flaherty Flex, which provides cash pay assisted stretching, personal training, and compression recovery. And today he's going to share about his journey in growing this and how physical therapists like you can add cash pay assisted stretching to your clinic. So, Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Neil, I really want to say thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on your podcast today.
Awesome. So let's dive into this. And can you first explain what Flaherty Flex is and how that interacts with your current PT clinic?
Yeah, so Flaherty Flex it's located in one of our offices. It probably takes up maybe about going to say about 400 to 600 square feet. So it is not a big footprint with us right now, and we have a certified personal trainer on staff who's part of our staff, and they are taking our clients through just general stretching protocol and after an assessment. And then since they're a personal trainer, they're also actually providing some personal training services too. And then we just added on a lot of, hypervolt and Normatec compression and vibration and a lot of those things for people that just have some recovery too as well.
Awesome. So have you seen that like is in the marketplace? Is this what kind of got you the idea? Is like you're seeing stretch labs and these different kind of recovery businesses open up?
So we have been talking in our office for maybe it's now about a year or so about this concept of well-being. And, I think hopefully most other PTs also agree with me that, we have a job and a role to do with our patients. And then at some point in time, they're done with us. And I've always, I've been doing this for, 30 plus years. And I've always wondered what happens to those people when they're done? Do they do what we've asked them to do? Do they go to the gym? Do they work with a trainer? Like, what do they do? And so we've decided that we want people to be feeling in their best selves. And I believe that when their well-being is right where it needs to be, they're happy. They feel good. They're doing all the things that they want to do. And so we decided to make this whole kind of strategic plan about our business. So our business was going to be focused on not just our patients' well-being, but also our all of our employees too as well.
Mhm.
And we 2 years ago we had a space came available to our location. We were able to take it on. We did a build out and we had this extra space. And the company that was there before was a personal training boutique kind of gym. So we could never really do personal training because of our lease agreement. And I was like, maybe we should look at maybe trying to add in some other services that will kind of enhance what we're currently doing with cash-based stuff. I believe that the hybrid model of insurance and cash is where we all need to be to some extent.
Mhm.
And so with this well-being concept, we've brought it on, and we were kind of like, all right, this might be a great fit for us. And it's we're 2 months in only, and it's been really awesome so far. So really excited about it.
That's excellent. And I kudos to you for seeing that, ability there and seeing what the market needs. And, I've been saying this for a while now that, we have this opportunity in this wellness industry and PT fits in the medical and wellness side of things, right? And for so long, we're kind of in that old school of just staying within the medical model, but the reality is that we have this opportunity to be also in the wellness model, right? And if you look at the growth of the health and wellness industry, I think it's on pace for something like in the next, 5 years to hit $3 trillion in the U.S. and what people spend on health and wellness. And so the public is saying, hey, we want to be healthier, we want to live longer, we want to feel better, and we know that there's lots of things that we can do to help them, achieve that. And like you said, how many times do we have patients that love us. They love the experience. They've had a great result from coming to physical therapy, and then we're like, okay, just keep doing your home exercise program at home. We know that they're not going to continue with their home exercise program at home, right? And then they come back
Exactly.
in, same problem, 3 months later, 6 months later, and it's like, well, if we just kept them going and helped them with their range of motion and mobility and strength, they would have stayed fine or even got even further along.
Um, my target demographic in my PT clinic has always been women 35 to 65. And because they're the ones that, one, they'll take care of their children first, medical issues, two, they'll help their spouse, three, their parents or in-laws, and then four, themselves.
Hmm.
And so they're the ones that make all the medical decisions for that group. But I just read this interesting article last week that $3 trillion was also spoken about in the wellness industry. And the millennial generation and the Gen X generation are spending a good component of their pocketbook purely on wellness and fitness. They get the whole piece of spending money. The baby boomers, the older baby boomers, they're expecting, you know, medical to happen because they pay for it, and
Hmm.
that's it. And then, everyone else, I'm 50, 57, that age, we kind of get it, but we're a little bit behind. But these younger people are willing to spend a lot of money on just general health and fitness and wellness. So it's a huge opportunity for us as PTs because our education surpasses any any certifications or anything like that. We just have a tremendous educational background to fit right into this industry. It's tremendous.
Hmm. Fantastic. And so you saw this opportunity for your business, and I'm curious, what did that look like for you? I think you created like two separate brands for this. So what was your kind of thought process going into setting this up for your practice?
So right now, we're still Flaherty Flex is still technically part of Flaherty Physical Therapy, and we kept it that way so we could leverage our patient emails to continue to add in. We do some patient email marketing and social media campaigns, but we wanted to. If I just started fresh with Flex as its own company, I would really have no email list.
Hmm.
And so for me, I thought we'll just keep it part of the company. We can just hit our patients and our current and past patients with as much information as possible about it. And then they could see, oh, this is cool. This is something that's new. This aligns with what I'm looking for. Let me give it a shot.
Hmm.
We'll eventually branch off and Flex will become its own corporation. But for me, I think through the rest of this year, our hope is to leverage our our patients' emails and their social media just to hit them hard with as much information as possible about the well-being stuff we're talking about right now.
Yeah, that's a really smart way to start, making it a program, right, within your company. And I think that for a lot of practices, they kind of think with like, okay, yeah, I want to do cash-based services. I want to become more of a hybrid model. How do I do that? And they think they have to form like this whole other company and whole other separate entity and make this whole big, shenanigans out of it. But the reality is you could start within what you have. And I think you've shown that. And you should have programs within your company anyway, right? And then you can have those programs and you can market those different programs to your audience. And you're an established practice. You have a one of the greatest things that you could possibly have in a business, which is a customer list to market to. And so that's really smart in that, hey, we've got people that follow us already on social media. We have a great email list that we can market to. Let's just advertise this new program to our current list and see who wants to become part of it. I love it.
Yeah, we've been focused a lot on our self-pay services. We'll do dry needling and we have a laser and we'll do some we have a two of our PTs are Pilates instructor. They have some background in Pilates, so we have reformers in our offices. And so we've been able to leverage some of that cash-based practice. It's about 5%. And my goal over the next 3 years was to get it from 5 to 25%. I initially thought that the flex might be a component of that, but I still believe that I need to have my cash-based services on the PT side get up to that level without the flex component to it. I think the
Hmm.
flex will just enhance offerings for that person who comes in getting Flex, and then goes, you know what, this is hurting. What can I do about this? And the Flex person could then go, you know what? Who did you see in PT? Well, let's get you back in with that therapist for more sessions, and maybe this would be appropriate. So we're constantly educating the PTs about what the trainer does, and the trainer what about what the PTs do. So that way they can cross refer back and forth.
Yeah, and I think that's really critical. And I know we did a podcast with Steve Rapicelli. He had the same thing that you want to have those opportunities to collaborate and make sure the team can get together, they can talk, and so one can learn from the other and what's appropriate for referrals. And you're right in that as people start to, let's say they're a past patient, they get your email, they're like, hey, I'd like to go for stretching, right? Or I'd like to go for personal training. And so they come in for that. And then they start to talk with them about, hey, you know what? I am starting to have some problems, some pain again. And that can be a great referral back into PT for sure. I love it. And so, I like that you're thinking through, okay, I want to transition my business and go from a 5% model of cash pay services to 25%. So for you, like if you were coaching other practices, like why would you tell them to look at adding cash pay services into their practice?
You know, honestly, right now, just dealing with insurances right now is becoming it the only word I can think of right now is just dreadful. It's become this dreadful process of dealing with authorizations and dealing with referral management and having all these things to have to deal with. And at the end of the day, my office manager sent me a message about a current insurance company we deal with, and we're thinking about going out of network with them. And the office person called to get verification information from the insurer. They were told one thing. The patient called on the same day, spoke to a different person, got different information. We had to call a second time to verify the information we got was what we got, and we're going. It's almost like, so now, so who do you believe and who do you trust, right?
Mhm.
And I believe that insurance now has made it so difficult to operate in their world. And right now, patients are willing to spend their own money to get better. They are recognizing that their insurance is a limiting factor in their health. And they have it for catastrophic coverage. They get that, they understand that. But I think they're starting to say to themselves, I have to take things into my own hands and start working on doing as much as I can to keep myself happy by just spending what I believe is important to me. And it's we're starting this concept of a well-being budget. And so we've talked about well-being, and then, now it's kind of like, okay, all right, so what are you willing to spend on well-being? What's that amount? And, you know, the first thing you have to spend is it's time. You have to recognize that to be well, you have to spend time doing it. You can't ignore it. You have to do something about it. And that time means you have to schedule it. You have to have a scheduling plan in place, and it requires effort. So if you can schedule it and you can put the effort in, those are two pieces that kind of get you moving in the right direction. But you then may need to spend some money on it. Yoga studios aren't free, supplements aren't free, cryo stuff is not free. So you then are trying these other things to see, will those augment that? So how much of your monthly budget is going directly towards your well-being? Um, the 50 20 30, the 50 30 20 rule, 50 for the needs, the 30 for the wants, the 20 for savings and, debt. How much of that 50 should actually be cut out of the pie for your wellness and well-being? And I don't think we think about it like that. We think about it as maybe a line item somewhere in that budget. But if we really study our budget well enough, how much are we spending on ourselves that goes to our health and wellness?
That's excellent. And so is that something that you've mapped out for yourself and like your staff, but then like do you translate that into something you present to patients as a way to get them to decide or think about their health and wellness?
Yeah, we're just starting, right? I actually, before we got on the call, I do a lot of videos, as part of our marketing. And so I just did a video with a piece of, post-it note on the wall. And of course, with like 1 second to go in the video, the piece of paper falls on the floor. That's how my videos go. They're just kind of goofy. And and I looked at my office assistant's videotaping and I was like, did that get on there? And because I'll keep it on there because it's like, when you think it's all perfect, it's really not that perfect.
Yeah.
But we're starting that, and we're actually also creating our own wheel of life. So if you think of Zig Ziglar, and he had his, find 7 different spokes on the wheel, all different things, financial, spiritual, health, all these different things, and you rate them 1 to 10, with 10 being it's perfect and one being it's not very good. And I think if we're going to take this well-being approach and really run with it, we've got to get people thinking more about it's just not their knee. Yeah, their knee is what's bothering them. They come to PT, we're going to help them fix their knee, but what's going on with the other parts of their body and how are they managing it? How can we help them with different things? This has stirred one of my PTs, loves to cook. And so now she's like, I want to learn more about nutrition. I don't want to be a nutritional counselor, but can I get like a training certification on nutrition so I can be more educated on nutrition? So now when we have someone that comes to us and says, yeah, I'm like 30 pounds overweight, I need to lose some weight, we can say,
Mhm.
we have someone who's a PT, they have a nutritional background and they have a certification. They're not, a nutritional, yeah, they're not a dietitian or anything like that, but maybe you can talk with her just about some strategies that you can start at home. And then hopefully that blossoms into the PT that knows nutrition is talking to the PT who's treating the knee. They get together, they have conversations, and then it just blossoms into this person hopefully getting better overall care that their primary care is not going to give them. There's no specialist that's going to give them that. They might get it from a trainer, but I believe we're much smarter than they are. So
Mhm.
why can't it come from us?
Absolutely. I love the way that you've done that though, because it's almost like a standard operating procedure for how to talk to a patient about their health. And if I kind of think about like being in the clinic and we get a referral for knee pain and what we do, we look at the knee, right? But we start to do, as in our evaluation, we do look at other parts like how they walking, is their hip affecting, is their foot affecting their knee, like what's happening here? And we have that conversation with the patient, but usually we don't go beyond that in terms of what you're talking about with health and wellness. And so I think as you that could even translate into just regular physical therapy, like how we're talking to patients about the way that they budget in their life for their health and wellness. And that's where, if a client is not committed to that, they're going to drop off PT, right? And so if we have that kind of training for our staff and how to go over that. And I think about like how patients really a lot of times just need orientation into their life. Like, okay, what are you prioritizing in your life? And we talk to them about that, about, having to exercise more or have better nutrition. And so we have some of those conversations while we're treating them, but we often don't go much further than that. So I love what you're doing there. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm thinking for our practice owners and our audience out there, like how can you incorporate more of that coaching basically for patients in making financial decisions for their health and wellness and how that impacts them. And then, like you said, we know that the insurance model is becoming worse and worse and to deal with. And I think the patient has gotten to that point where they realize, hey, if I need my insurance, it's going to be when I'm in the hospital, but they're really not going to cover much now when I go out to a doctor or whatever it may be. And so they realize they're having to pay more and more out of pocket. We work with a lot of Canadian clients, and it's really fascinating to see how the medical model in Canada has orientated the public and how they actually prioritize a lot of their health and wellness, and they pay a lot more out of pocket. And when you look at clinics up in Canada, you don't traditionally find just a PT clinic. You usually find a hybrid clinic of PT, chiropractic, acupuncture, nutritional counseling, sometimes psychology in there. And so you find that the public really likes to go to those clinics that offer a lot under one roof because they have a lot of choice and they know that they can get a lot of help for their health and wellness. And I think we're transitioning or moving in that direction here in the United States.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. And, and it goes along, we had to renew our company health insurance. And, the plan that we had was a 2000 individual, $4,000 family deductible. And so for me to keep that same plan for the upcoming calendar year, it was going to be a 24% increase in the premium. But if I dropped to a 3,000, 6,000 plan, it would have only increased it by 4%. So when
Mm,
I talked to my broker, I said, "Oh, what's the deal here?" He goes, "Yeah, they're not making enough money on those low deductible plans. They're pushing it more towards their to the consumer." So that was another piece that was kind of an aha moment for me to go, okay, well, if that's what my plan is doing in my small company of, 20 some odd 27 employees,
mhm.
it's going to be doing the same thing in so many other companies where to the point where people are going to be like, okay, well, I won't spend more money to the insurance company, but I will spend it on my own with my own ideas of how I want to manage it. Uh,
Yeah.
I just want to make a comment, one other thing, talking about, you made a comment about training and our staff and things. And we've been working, we created our own pillars of what we thought were going to be important for us as a company, for our employees and for our staff. And we actually started off with six, and we then presented them to our staff. We had a great meeting where we broke into small subgroups. They were asked to review the information, provide their feedback, and help us formulate this from the standpoint of as an employee and as a patient. And it was great because it was like, we missed one, we have to add one, and it made us kind of look at how can we better refine some of these concepts to make them more valuable to both customers, our employees and our patients.
Mhm.
And it was a nice little buzz in the room when they were it what you I was kind of like, okay, what's going to happen here? Are they just going to stare at each other and not do anything? But my team was they were very, very engaged and intrigued by it. And I think it made me kind of go, this is the right decision for us. This is perfect. I'm glad we decided to go this way because they've bought into it. And now what we're hoping is when we hire other employees, we want them having that same ideal. So if it's not important for them for well-being, we probably won't hire them, even though, we need 2 to 3 more PTs, just like every other clinic in America right now, right? But
Mhm.
I think we just have to make sure this well-being concept is so important to us. We have to make sure that that's going to be a really important factor in hiring, even
Mhm.
office people too, because they don't think they have a role in this, but they have a huge role in how they're talking to the patient just as much as the PT.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on after you're done with your PT? What are you doing? Do you know we're having a workshop on this? Or did you see about this flex thing? I don't know what's going on over there, but man, these people come out, they're smiling all the time. I don't know what the heck's going on, but they seem to be happy, so they can play a huge role in patients' well-being just as much as the PT.
Yeah, I always said that the front desk to me is one of the most important positions in the clinic because they control the schedule. They control whether people come in or not, or the cancel rate. So it can make
Yeah,
a huge financial impact in your business. And then now when you add on cash-based services, they often have those conversations too. And I've heard from different people too, like one of the directions that you can go, like depending on how aggressive you go into cash-based and I think too, as we decide over time that we're not going to be part of certain networks, that we're going to be out of network, that we'll have more financial conversations with patients, that there comes a point where your providers are not the salespeople, they're the delivery people, right? And when you go, the plastic surgery world has done this forever, right? So you don't go talk to your doctor, your plastic surgeon about what it's going to cost. You go to the nurse, but it's really a salesperson and they sit
yeah.
down with you. They talk about what's going to happen, the cost, the different packages, payment plans, and all kinds of things that you can do there. Like we can get there depending on what level of cash-based services you want, where you have someone who's trained that, okay, you're going to go talk to so-and-so now about different packages and what's available there and payment plans and things that we can do for you.
The top 10% of PT owners aren't just surviving, they're thriving. But what's their secret? Well, Neil Trickett's new Market to Grow book reveals how the top 10% of PT practices leverage marketing systems to simultaneously grow their new patients, attract top talent, and boost profit in their practice. You can learn from their secrets. Visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free copy of Market to Grow. Yes, you heard that right. We are shipping a free copy of Market to Grow to all podcast listeners who want it. Just visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free book. And now back to the show.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's a lot of models out there that, some might find it to be pushy, but I just believe it's more information. It allows, it's all about that patient liking, and trusting the service and then seeing how it can benefit them, then money becomes irrelevant. And
Yeah,
sometimes I think PT wise, we think, well, we shouldn't be charging them for these things because it costs them money. And our take is, yeah, it does cost them money. Yep, it does. But it costs us money to do the service. So, let them decide, let them make the decisions, and you just give them all the information on why you believe they should have the service, and then let them decide on whether or not it's something that they want and how much they want it for.
absolutely. And so, Kevin, I'm curious for you, how, if a practice is looking to do something a little similar to what you're doing, right, where incorporating the kind of personal training and the stretching programs there. So, like, how did you get started in this direction?
Well, I over the past 3 years, it's been a big push of ours to just to kind of start looking outside the box and having as many different services that we could provide for people to get them to get better faster. And it kind of started that way. It's morphed into this well-being piece. You mentioned Steve Rappicelli, and so I did have a conversation with Steve. I had when I was thinking about bringing on a trainer, doing some wellness things. I'd heard him speak at PPS, a year or two before, and he's a great guy, really smart man. And I grabbed him at PPS, and I connected with him on LinkedIn before PPS, and we were kind of passing, and that he goes, Kevin Flaherty. I said, yeah, it's Steve Rappicelli. He goes, yep. He goes, you just connected with me on LinkedIn, and I have no idea why. And I said, you're right, I did. And I said, but I'm interested in learning a little bit more about some of your wellness stuff that you've done in the past, because I know you have fitness gyms and your clinics, and I'm just curious to kind of catch your thoughts on that. And he goes, I got something better for you. And that was what he said. And I was kind of like, what does that mean? And he said, do you have some time? And I said, I do. I had, and I did. And so we spent about 20 minutes, and he started talking to me about his Stretch Flex program. And I started looking at it, and I'd seen some of these stretching companies come in, and I actually, I mystery shopped one that's local. It's the next town over from where we are. I went as a customer, and saw how I was treated. I wasn't treated poorly, but I wasn't treated the way I would have expected to have been treated. And even from the standpoint of when I went, the first session was free, and then after that, they sold me on some sessions. I'm like, I gotta buy some sessions to see what that's like. I handed my company credit card over, which has my name, Flaherty Physical Therapy, on it. And she took the card, entered in the information, handed it back to me, and said, "Okay, we'll see you on Tuesday." And I was kind of like, did you see my car? Like, I have a PT clinic. We could create a relationship
Hmm.
here where we could send people back and forth." And I was like, so she missed this opportunity, for better business and more people coming into their stretch place. So I left there. I'm like, okay, this is something I can do this. If we get the right trainer doing this, that can be able to be someone that our clients will know, like, and trust, we'll kill this. We'll just do, and so far in 2 months' time, he has killed it. It hasn't been me. I've just been sitting there cheering him on and making sure he has what he needs. But
Hmm.
our trainer that we've selected has been awesome. So it's I just, I've always been frustrated by insurance, and it felt like I had to start moving my company to something different than just insurance. And,
Hmm.
change doesn't happen fast at all. And, so for us, it's been this kind of very slow process of training our staff with dry needling, training them in how to use a laser and why they should use a laser, and then how to talk to people about it and how to offer these services to people that will just help speed up their recovery. We do a post PT exercise program in our clinic, and why aren't we having more of our people that are done with PT coming and exercising in our place? We should
Yeah.
have 25, 30 people every day working out for we've, been in business for almost 10 years. We have enough people that we could easily have 30 people a day working out, and we'll have seven. So it's getting our therapists thinking differently, and they don't change fast. So you just have
Mhm.
to do your best to kind of try and stay with them and help them see opportunity for people to get better. And we've never promoted this as this is a moneymaker. This is all about us making sure our patients are helped. And because right now, I was just I, we were I was at some fireworks last night. It's July 3rd today, right? And one of the people that we were with, friends of ours for years, and she said, that's what they do now. You go to the doctor, and the answer is go to PT. Now, 25 years ago, that was not the answer, but
Right.
now it is. And most of the time, if it's musculoskeletal, the primary is like, I don't know what to do. Just go to PT, get out
Hmm.
of my office. So we have so many people that are coming to us. We don't have a new patient problem right now. We have a shortage of therapists. That's our problem. So now it's just a matter of how do we keep those people going, keeping them engaged, and keeping them teaching them how to stay healthy. And that's
Yeah.
what's going to make them happy.
Yeah, and I love the way that you approach that because I remember having those conversations with my PTs when I had my practice, and it was around, the sometimes the way that they approach it is like, oh, you just want more money, right? No, we're actually trying to get people better, right? And so you have those conversations with them around, okay, well, if there was no insurance and money wasn't a problem, how many times would you want to see that patient to get them the maximum results? Oh, if I could see him every day, that would be fantastic. Right. Right. So you've determined that you need to see them every single day in order for you to get the maximum results out of that, or at least 3 times a week, whatever it would be there. And so that just kind of flipped their mindset and that, oh, well, in order for me to get the right results for the patient, to get them, to full wellness, it's going to take this. And then the money's the mechanics handle that. But it really reframed their mindset with that. But I love the conversations that you've had with your staff about that. I'm curious on the Flaherty Flex side of things, has it been simpler to get that off the ground? Has there been any kind of compliance regulatory kind of things because it's a personal trainer, it's not a PT in there?
If there is, I'm not aware of them, right? I think the interesting thing of the training industry, it's like the wild, wild west. There's no certificate. I have people applying for I have job postings out there, and I have people applying. They don't have any certifications, but they work out in a gym. So
Hmm.
they think, oh, well, I can be a trainer, and so we're like, no, you can't be a trainer. That's not going to work that way. Um, so from a regulatory standpoint, and since it's in our own practice, everything just kind of still falls under the umbrella of Flaherty Physical Therapy.
Yeah.
So, we're making sure that we're compliant with HIPAA still with, patient, conversations between PTs and the trainer. We're able to still market to our patients for Flaherty Flex because it's still under that umbrella.
Hmm.
Um, in 6 months from now, when we make that change, I think it's going to be very intriguing to see how that goes. And I think, we'll be working with our PT patients to say, hey, listen, Flaherty Flex is going to be a new company. We'd love you to follow them. Can you just opt in? So we'll probably spend a complete month of opt in, opt in, opt in, opt in to get as many of our, 7,000 customers to opt in to Flex as much as possible. And
Yeah.
it's then moving us into other forays of advertising like Facebook ads and Google ads and things like that to try and get other people in the community that may not know about Flaherty PT or
Yeah.
Flaherty Flex and get them involved. So,
Well,
uh,
I think you'll do really well with that. I know here in our town here near Richmond, Virginia, that Stretch Labs opened up, and in about 1 to 2 months, they were completely booked out.
yeah,
Right? If you open up in the right place, and you have a decent, affluent enough public there, people want that. Like people love being stretched. I mean, who doesn't love being stretched? Like going for a massage, like who doesn't love a massage, right? People love being
yeah.
stretched, and it's one of those repeat recurring things. Like that, hey, once you feel good with this, I got to keep coming back to keep loose. It's a no-brainer, right? I don't know why we missed the boat on this as a profession
Completely.
for
Oh,
decades,
completely.
right?
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's been we found a software that was different than our EMR. And so we don't have an office person staffing. Flaherty Flex has pretty much just one employee. It's my trainer. Um, People are able to make their own appointments through the website. They register on the website. They make payments on the website. Everything
Mhm.
goes through our website. Communications back and forth go through the website or through email back and forth. We have a phone. It's a mobile phone, but like it's never used. People rarely call it. And that's the way I want it. I don't want people calling my PT office to bother them about it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of still under the umbrella, but it's building its own brand a little bit,
Hmm.
to the point where when it is ready to branch off on its own, we'll have a good solid couple of hundred customers that are following us, and then we just have to continue to keep marketing. And our patients, our clients coming into Flex are right now our old past patients that have been seeing our messages and going, I think I want that. So out of the in 2 months, we've had, I think, 47 new clients.
Nice.
Out of those 47, only five have come from our PTs. The other 42 came from just me blasting out emails. Here's Flex. Here's what it's about. Here's Meet the Trainer Luke. Here's a video about him.
Hmm.
Here's what his background is. Here's what stretching. Here's what assisted stretching is. Here's what personal training is. And they're very intrigued by it. And they're very interested in the service.
Yeah.
it, it's way it is again, Neil, like you said, it's like we missed this one. We missed this one 10 years ago. It's unfortunate that none of us had that aha moment to go, we could do that. We could start stretching people and just, not have to charge insurance for it.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. And I think you're so smart with it because it's one of those businesses where you don't really have to have, I mean, you can keep the cost relatively, affordable, still make a great profit off of it because you don't have to have a high expense. You have someone who's not at a PT salary, right? You
Yep.
buy, have a good salary for them. Um, and you have systems where you don't have to deal with all the insurance headaches, right? Because you can just have them sign up right online. They can pay online. You make it super easy and affordable and convenient for the client. It's a no-brainer.
When we um created some projections, we started I saw talked to Steve about this PPS last year in 2024. And then we started that process and then started some projections in like January, February of this year, and got to the point of like, it was kind of like me just throwing what on the wall to see if it would stick. Right. And now what we're finding is after a few months of being in business with this, we know if we hit X amount of new initial sessions, and if we hit X amount of packages, and if we hit X amount of personal training packages and assisted stretching packages, we'll cover our expenses. And by third month three, we'll have covered all of our startup expenses and our current monthly expenses.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's crazy. Yeah, it is kind of a no-brainer in my opinion.
Yeah. It's just finding the initial space. And you said 400 square feet, something like that?
Yeah, we have two
Yeah.
treatment tables, a massage. We have a like a recliner chair for people to sit in if they want to sit with the Normatec or so it and a bookshelf that has the products we sell and a small
Mhm.
little desk. So it's not a very big space.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fantastic. So for our audience out there, you don't have to put up a lot of barriers like, oh, I'm gonna have to like buy a whole new facility and all the equipment. You can start small, right? You can start
Yep.
and just like you're doing here, and you said within 3 months you're covering your costs and paying, your startup costs, and you're then going to be growing it from there. And it's again, if you're an established practice like you are, and you've got a good list of people that you can market to that already have known and liked you, man, that's just like gold. I love
It
it.
certainly helped for sure.
And so, Kevin, if you were talking to another practice owner out there, what would be your advice for people like to find out like how they could start to do this? Is there different coaches online or different places that they could look at as an example?
I mean, I think, just investigating the industry right now is a great idea. There's probably 6 or 7 that I know of, just stretch places,
Mhm.
franchise type places. And just go on their websites and check them out. And if there's one in your area, go see what it's like. So you just kind of can experience it. That was really helpful for me to go and experience the service that they provided to me. And that's one. Two, Steve and his team have been very, 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 very great and gracious with me in helping me grow this. They have been there and done it, so they have made the mistakes, they've had the successes. They've helped me make my process so much easier, and was really great to partner with Steve and get some coaching through him and his COO Matt, who is the stretch trainer but also the COO of their Stretchplex brand. um, that was extremely helpful because I don't know the training industry. I know PT, but I don't know the training industry. So
Mhm.
that was kind of interesting for me because it's a different world. It
Yeah.
is not that different from what we live in, but it's a different world. And so just learning more about that can be really very helpful.
That's great advice, and I would say too, like, we often get in our own way as business owners, as practice owners, like, oh, I'm very smart, I can figure things out, and you can to a certain extent, but it's time, right? And so, do you want to spend the months that it takes to figure out these things and the expense of figuring out these things, or do you just want to work with a coach that knows what they're doing and can help you get this up and running pretty quick, right? So,
Yeah.
to me, it's worth a little bit of money to have someone who's already been there, figured it out, can give you the SOPs on what to do. And I think Steve's a great resource. So for our audience out there, you can just check Steve Rapicelli out on LinkedIn and get connected with him if you're interested in opening up a stretch type facility in your practice.
Yeah. I would echo all of that, Neil. Great, great
Mhm.
thoughts.
Awesome. And so, Kevin, for you, like, what do you see the future being for Flaherty PT and Flaherty Flex?
Well, the future is very intriguing, isn't it? I think we hope to have multiple locations of Flaherty Flex. I think I think everyone listening that's a PT knows what the PT shortage is right now. And I've had an easier time talking to trainers because there's more trainers out there looking for work than I have PTs. I think, we do have aspirations of a third location within the next year for the PT side. But I also think within the next few years, I would love to have a few different locations of Flaherty Flex. And the question is, should it be freestanding by itself? Should it be combined with the PT side? And that's we're going to find that out over the next few months to see what we decide with that. I don't think
Hmm.
I've solved that question yet. I thought initially that they would be okay to be by themselves, but I think people really like the ability to like think about if you have a neck and shoulder problem. Nowadays, you go to your primary says, try some PT. The PT does works neck, shoulder, thoracic. They work all that area, and then they're not helping the patient. So they go, we need you to go see a spine person. So they go to see the spine guy or gal, and they check the neck out, and they go, you know what? This isn't your neck, it's your shoulder. You got to go down the hall to see the shoulder guy. I don't do shoulders. And so then you go down the hall to see the shoulder guy, which is now a couple of weeks later to get in to see them. And now, inevitably, what could happen is they go, no, I don't think it's your shoulder. I think it's your neck. And so, because neither one of them will look at either one of them,
Hmm.
that you don't know what to do. Now you're like, oh, now what do I do? And
Yeah.
so I think we have the ability to have, because we spend anywhere from 6 to 14 sessions with every patient, we're spending hours with them, not minutes. And so they know, like, and trust us. So when the therapist says, I really think you would benefit from some stretching. What do you think about that? What do you mean? Well, Flaherty Flex can offer some stretching, and it's something you can get a couple of times a week. You're going to work with Luke, the trainer. I'll tell Luke about you. So
Yeah.
Luke will know all about you. And they go, oh, really? Oh, you can actually communicate with the guy. So he'll, oh, this is great. I love this. And
Hmm.
so now they know, like, and trust the PT. They know, like, and trust Luke. It's all good. So that it's a huge piece that I don't think I really thought was going to be that important, but I think it's a huge piece that we have to be aware of, and
I
we
100%
can
agree with that.
capitalize on.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that's a great thought process. And you can have separate businesses, but I think if they're geographically right next door to each other or in the same facility, it's even better.
Yeah,
People like mentally see it as one thing, right? Versus like two separate businesses. And then they have that feeling, like you're saying, like people talk within those walls. They're going to take better care of me if they know what's going on with each other. And I always think back to when I was practicing and I would just hear and see like my PTs, they were working in kind of the gym, some of the plinth areas, and they're talking and they're working on a patient comes in and they're working on someone's knee and then someone else is working on someone's neck and spine. They're like, "Oh, I didn't realize you did necks."
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah, hello. Yeah,
yeah,
we help headaches and necks and all
yeah.
kinds of stuff. And they're like, "Oh, I thought you just did knees," because they just referred me for my knee. So there's so many opportunities that happen within the clinic like that. And if they see people being stretched or know that there's that stretching going on, they're like, "Oh, wow," it creates a lot of intrigue.
It does. Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, I would say yes. Obviously there's logistics and challenges sometimes with finding the right space in the right area and the right location and all that kind of stuff. But if you can, I'm a big advocate for, if you're going to have separate programs, like really try to make them visible even within the clinic. And I've seen lots of clinics too that um, that they're bringing in wellness, gyms, personal trainers. They'll also bring in nutritional lines, as part of that too for that thing. And in your practice, I think what you got to look at, and we start off as PTs, so we know our trade really well, and then we think, hey, I'm going to start my own business because I can do it better, right? And then we start to do our own business, then we realize quickly like we don't know what we're doing in business. And then we got to realize like, oh, I got to get trained in business and get better in business. But then you gravitate to what you know best, which is the PT world, right? And then so, the practice owners that I see that really crush it are the ones that are thinking outside that box. And how can we have a better overall holistic experience for the patient? And then from that premise, you can say, okay, what other lines of service can I use to get the first and foremost the patient better, but then looking at cross sell and upsell opportunities, right? So cross sell is like a similar type of service like stretching, right? So that's a cross sell opportunity. And then within that, you could have upsell opportunities. Oh, so you came in for stretching. Do you also need personal training or do you need cryotherapy or do you need nutritional? So like that's, upselling those particular packages and things that they could offer in there. So as business owners, we have to think about our ultimate product is getting people better. And within that product, how do we have opportunities for cross-sell and upsell opportunities with our patients?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's something we've been working really hard on, and I feel like we've are almost at that point of getting a little bit of a groove going with it. So it's kind of an exciting time for us that I'm hoping that our PTs continue to keep seeing the benefit of it. Our patients, once they get involved with it, will be more than engaged with it, I think, and they're going to just keep, taking it all in and continue to be great customers. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what it's all about, creating those loyal customers that want to come back to see you.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And so Kevin, any final thoughts here for our audience if they're kind of on the fence of trying to dabble in some cash pay services?
No, I don't. I think it's a great thought process. I think it's just a way for you to expand the business. I think if you think, um, Start small. It's like everything else, don't buy 17 things, buy two things and try those two things. Spend some time and investigate them and get a couple of key PT champions on your staff to help you make decisions. You may have that therapist who's maybe that 2 to 4 years out. You see something in them that just seems like they've got it, they get it, and ask them for help. Imagine if you're that kid 2 or 4 years out from PT school and the owner is coming to you to ask for your opinion. How cool is that for them? And so
Hmm.
now you can say, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And you have them start talking about it. What do we need for training? What do we need for supplies? What do we need for cost? If we do this, is it going to take away from something else? And what's the difference in how much we charge? And then you really have to make sure that you charge, don't undercharge. PTs are famous for, oh, we feel so bad that the patient has to pay for something and they undervalue their services. You guys have all spent a lot of money on getting yourself educated, first in PT school. Now you have to get a doctorate, right? And then all this other time and effort with Con Ed and all these other things. We deserve to be paid at a much higher rate than any insurance is paying us right now. And so if you devalue your cost and you don't even know what your cost per visit is, then you're doomed to fail. So when you decide to look at these things, get other people involved, but know your cost. What's it cost every visit to do? And if you're charging the patient less than your cost per visit, you better have a really good reason why, because then you're just losing money every single time. So it's good to do some homework and it's good to get other people involved and find things that maybe not a lot of other people in your area are doing. And that those three things combined might really help it flourish as quickly as ours has.
Fantastic advice there, Kevin. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your success there and your growth, and taking the adventure of doing more hybrid cash-based services in your practice. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, Neil. I really appreciate that. That means a lot from you. You're in the RPT world all the time, and you push out such great content. And so I really I'm honored to be on your podcast and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. And so, to our listeners out there, I hope you got a lot out of Kevin's advice here today. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more cool episodes with some of the clinics and different practice owners out there, some of our nation's leading practice owners. And don't forget to subscribe to us also on YouTube. We've got tons of great advice and tips for you on that, as well as at practicepromotions.net. We can get free downloads, how to market your practice even better. So this is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click write a review. Thanks.